G'day guys, I'm Chris, this is Richo, and Matt's holding the camera. We're going to be removing a gearbox today on our Ford. He's Ford, he fucked the clutch. So we've got to replace the new clutch, so we thought we'd run you through how to do that. Okay guys, I'll just run you through what we've done so far. We've chucked the Ute up on our makeshift ramp, which just happens to be the best way we can do it, which is the back of a flatbed truck on a loading ramp. Give us some access through there. Okay, what we have to do to have a bo peep, we're going to pull out the tail shaft, and then we've got to remove the jack up the back cross member, take him out, and then remove the bolts for the bell housing, and then also drop the starter motor and take that out. So we'll get to that a bit later as we're doing it. So this is the view under the car, and okay, what we're going to do now is remove just all random wires and shit like speed sensors, speedo, clutch cable, what is that? Body air strap to bell housing, just anything related to the gearbox. Then we're going to undo the tail shaft at the uni joints and take the yoke out, and then drop the cross member off, and that should suspend itself from the bolts in the bell housing before we somehow take those out and drop it off. So yeah, what we'll do for now is we'll just look at disconnecting the clutch cable, so we have to slacken off the adjustment to pop it out of the clutch fork, and then just start disconnecting some of these wires here, like for the speed sensors and the reversing lights, and yeah, like I said, these body earth straps and stuff like that. And yeah, after we do that, okay, this is the clutch cable. We just got to undo the adjustment on it, adjusting the free travel basically. So we're just
really count how many you've got in there.
Just bloody slacking that right off so we can get it out of the clutch fork. That'll give us plenty of slack. Okay. Oh, lovely, great. Disconnecting that. Okay, so we should be able to pop that off now. Crimping. I need more fucking thing. Oh, damn.
So yeah,
Are you still
just
filming?
this one here. Yep. They wait, can't wait.
Alright, that's the clutch cable disconnected from the fork. So we'll just keep him out of the road. Okay, and Richo's already disconnected the straps and the reversing lights and such.
Cable shaft out.
We're just undoing the
diff end. Just undoing the bolts.
Undoing the uni bolts. If I can, I would. Yeah, there we go.
As you can see, it's locked up and not moving.
So I chocked the back wheels, some bricks, and the park brakes firmly on.
Safety first, beer second.
What are you talking about? Beer first, safety second.
Oh yeah, we're doing it Aussie way, aren't we?
That's right. This isn't the American way, this is the Aussie way. These fuckers are tight. Tight as a nun's nasty.
Chris, remember we're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Look at these nuns out there, want to take the gearbox out.
Exactly. Okay. Just getting this fucking... See what we're drinking, people? Here you go, see this? Ah, VB, Victoria Bitter.
Don't do that, copyright issues, you can't fucking...
Hey, I'm endorsing a product, VB. You come to Australia, you gotta drink VB.
Either that or Carlton, or 4X.
Okay. Yeah. Alright, back up, back up.
You back up. Okay.
Okay, this should come off. Should do. But it's not.
Bang.
Oh, God. We might have to lever it off.
You want to get under there and have a look? It's easy to get under there from over there. And then iron box.
Yeah. God, it hasn't been removed in a few centuries.
Probably.
Crash bang Chris, by head. By Chris's head.
Oh, there we go. I'm leaving it off. Okay. Rightio.
Well, as you can see, it's detached from the rear diff.
The rear diff, as opposed to the front diff.
Yeah.
It's a two-wheel drive car.
Yep. Alright, to the rear of the car.
Now we gotta slide it out of this, and this is a gearbox plug, which you've seen in my previous tutorials. And we slide it straight up there in the extension housing. So this will come out just to prevent oil draining. Okay, slide him in. Sweet. Okay, put that on the back of the truck.
Go back to the truck.
Oh shit.
Take out the camera now.
Sweet. Now, all we have to do,
A bit twisted.
left to do now, is drop the cross member, and we've got to take the gear stick out. So we'll investigate the gear stick from inside the car, and we'll drop this cross member off. All our wires, speed sensors are disconnected, and our clutch cable's out. So we'll go from there. Alright babies, we're back in the car. Richo is uninstalling the center console around the shifter, so we can detach the shifter, pull out. These things can be a pain in the bum. We'll sort it out.
No.
Does that come out? Like that whole thing?
That was just holding that in.
Oh God. Anyway, that's what we're up to. We're removing this somehow, and alright peeps, we've done a bit more to the car. Richo's been inside, and it's getting later in the day, it's hard to see. Whoa, shit. He's disconnected the center console, and we're just trying to get the stick out now. So under the car here, we've got our superior jack set up. We've got a jack on a piece of boiler pipe supporting the gearbox. That is absolutely ripper. That's how we Aussies do things. That's how we roll. So at the moment we're just disconnecting the lever for the gearbox, which is on a control rod. Hard to see, but it's up there. And we're also disconnecting the starter motor out of the bell housing so we can take some bolts off. So we'll at the moment we've got to drop the cross member off to drop the gearbox lever out. So we'll get to that and tell me ready.
Righto, so we've got to take off them fucking screws and fucking hope like hell we don't get crushed.
We're still editing that out.
No, really, what do you want me to say? I wasn't listening.
Do an intro for this morning.
This morning. Right, so we've had a big piss up. The car's been up on this truck, it's lasted the night. And all the hangover, we get back to work unwillingly.
Okay, baby poppies. This morning we are going to pull the gearbox off the bell housing to make it lighter, because it'll be heavy as with that big cast bell housing on there. So we managed to get the shifter off this morning, which took 2 seconds because there was a roll pin that had to be punched out to get it off, so that's sweetness. So we're going to undo these 4 bolts here and the other side, and that'll take the gearbox off. Then we withdraw it out of the bell housing. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll film it probably as we're pulling it out.
Because we're mad cunts.
Because we're mad. And we're hungover as all balls because we got on the Bundy. Ugh.
Fucking Pete, I'm gonna die.
Alright people, we're about to pull the box off. So Richo's going to undo the bolts, and I'm going to support it. Hopefully it's not going to drop and hit me on the head.
Faces
there we go, it's got movement.
Yep. Last one. Here we go, boys.
Okay, use two support the front of the box, and I'll support the back. And we've got to slide it out evenly. Turn and slide straight back, push pressure up, we need to be straight. That's it, that's it.
Oh, bird nest.
Got it, hold the front. Oh dear.
What's it called? There we go. Rest it on my knee.
It's my hand
Fine. Yeah, well that's... Get your hand off my hand, you faggot.
Right. Yeah, that's how you remove a gearbox. Jack, this is heavy.
I'll take it with a bird's nest.
Quick, put it down there. It's... Fuck.
How are we getting that?
Hey people, that's what it looks like with just the bell housing, and you can see the clutch fork flopping around in there. I don't know what's going on in there yet, but we're getting close to getting the clutch out. Now we're going to take this bell housing off, which has bolts up top, usually somewhere up there, and on the side, and just all the way around. They are a bit heavy, these things. They're made of cast, so we'll pop that out, and
Size of the bolts, Chris.
we'll get... Okay people, Richo's undoing the bell housing now. Just a point to remember, just be careful of your bolt sizes as you go around. Remember which ones go where, because usually they're different lengths. Like the top two might be shorter than the ones down here, or vice versa. So just pay attention to which ones are going where, because if you crank a long bolt into a small hole, you could risk cracking your block or something like that. And that turns into a big pull out the motor exercise. Not the best. People, we're just removing the bell housing, which is the outer casing. The clutch will be still connected to the flywheel. We good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shouldn't be too bad.
Shouldn't be too bad.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking look at the grass in it. That's probably what triggered it.
So, that's our first bearing.
Show it in.
Where's that coming from? Maybe not full of that.
It's the bell housing. Where's that bolt coming from?
Yeah, that's...
Get a shot over here, man, and the engine with the gearbox. So that's what they look like with the bell housing off. Is it slopping yet? No, this thing will be fucking heavy too. You will be
I
careful
remember
with this.
your one.
Right, get in here and hold this, Richard. Or you crank that and I'll hold this.
Oh, whatever.
No, you crank this and I'll hold the clutch.
Trust yourself a little bit more, do you?
Just smack it, Richard, then.
Oh, what was that?
Right, here we go. Three? No, there's got to be four, right?
Or maybe there's one by hand. Nope. It's a Ford.
Okay.
What's on the clutch plate? This one.
That's fucked.
Ooh.
There's your slippies. Look at the clutch. What clutch?
Yeah, what clutch, babies? Yow. That equals no driving. Bad, very bad. Oh, look at, did we get a new one of those?
Yep.
Oh, we got a whole new section, didn't we?
Yep. New clutch and pressure plate.
Oh, no.
Which
That's what happened,
like that, didn't it? Yeah. Yep. And we're going to take out the bearing as well. We should clean that up with some brake and clutch cleaner, but anyway.
That's technical. I
You
think
get
it's
that.
still going to be an improvement. No matter what we do.
Okay. Technique for getting that out with a slide hammer, which we don't have. Interesting.
Let's get rid of it there.
Got to get rid of this waxy coating. It's a rust coating. It's a bit weird. Cleaning the
Too bad
clutch
it's a bit
with
of rust.
petrol. Hey?
Too bad there's a bit of rust.
I think the outside bit matters too much. I'll probably find out that no, that was really bad. Probably not petrol.
Yeah, but
Something
we
like
find
that.
out later once we've made it work somehow.
the foil on it. You don't have to film it the whole way through. G'day people, I'd just like to wrap up our little documentary on removing a gearbox and a clutch. We didn't get a chance the other day to show you guys how to reinstall it all. We sort of ran out of time and the good old urgency factor. We needed the car running again the next day so Richo could drive it home. So I apologise for that in advance. So what I'll do, just to wrap up, is just like to talk about the clutch and how to get it aligned, because a lot of people ask questions like that when they haven't done it before, as they sort of freak out a bit. It's like it's only something that mechanics can do because you need specialised tools and such. Well, it's not exactly true. There's no rocket science behind it. So I'd just like to give you a couple of graphical representations of how to do it. It's not actually that scary, and you'll see why. People, this is a what's called a clutch aligning tool. This is actually a cheap one. I think I bought it at a super cheap Repco. It's a TFT clutch aligning tool. It's got a few different screw bits and stuff, and a few extra attachments. Now, what this does, it's hard to explain, but I'll grab the book so you know what we're looking at, and you would have noticed this from the video. This is what a clutch typically looks like. Here is your flywheel, which is bolted to the back of the engine, which you would have seen in the video after we removed everything. This is the actual clutch plate itself. This is the pressure plate. And you would have seen these three together bolted to the flywheel when we did a shot on the back of the engine. Now the bell housing actually goes over all of this and bolts to the back of the motor. Once you remove the bell housing, you're left with these three things bolted together. Now, what a clutch aligning tool does is you insert it through here and it goes into the clutch plate like this. And what it does is it's supposed to perfectly center the clutch plate to the pressure plate. These two things will be clamped together in perfect symmetry. This is in a perfect world, that is, like so. And you'll see the end of this as you turn the end of the clutch aligning tool. You'll see the end of it spreading. See that spreading there? Spreading, spreading, spreading. As that sinks, as that sinks back down in there. Now what that's doing, it's grabbing hold of the center part of that clutch plate, pulling these two together. And then once they're together with this thing in the middle, like so, you then go and bolt it all in, all the however many bolts the pressure plate and the clutch plate onto the flywheel. And that should be perfect alignment for the gearbox to go stick right in like so. But when we did that with a cheap tool like this, we found it was not quite aligned. Now that's a problem that you'll find and can be very frustrating, is when they're not aligned properly. You go to pick up this heavy gearbox and you shove it in here and you're twisting around to get these splines lined up and into the spigot bush, which is in the middle of the flywheel. It won't go in, it's a pain in the ass. Now, what I do, I piff this thing aside. This is why I don't think it's so technical. I did it by eye. I lined these three things up with my eye. Anyone can do this. This is what you do. You'll notice when you buy a new clutch setup, it'll come with a new pressure plate and a new clutch plate in the kit, and probably the one we bought will also come with a thrust bearing, which is this thing here, which is attached to the clutch fork. You would have noticed that when we removed the bell housing, you would have seen this thing flopping around inside the bell housing. That's your thrust bearing. Now that pushes on the pressure plate fingers here, which pushes on these springs here, pushing against the flywheel, disengaging your clutch. That's how that works. So in your kit you usually get your pressure plate, your clutch plate, your thrust bearing, and you may or may not get your spigot bush or spigot bearing, which goes in the center here, which pushes into the back of your crank basically of the engine, which your flywheel is bolted to. Right. So what you do, and when you go to align all this, you put it in for the first time. You'll notice on your clutch plate, pressure plate. I keep getting those two bloody confused. Whatever. The drive plate, as the book calls it, and that thing there is the pressure plate assembly. This is an old Holden book, by the way. So anyway, the drive plate or the clutch plate, you'll notice on one side usually it's written to flywheel side. So to get this thing the right way around, that's the flywheel. Point the flywheel side to the flywheel. Okay, easy. So you put these two together, and then there'll be screws around this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. We encountered 3, whatever. That, and that gets bolted to the flywheel. Okay. So don't bolt it on hard to begin with. This is how you align it. This thing should be flopping around inside this. If you screw it on tight, this won't move at all. So just do your screws when you put all of this together onto the flywheel. This will flop a little bit around. That's how you align your clutch. Now to do it by eye, what you do is you look behind nice and even through this ring here, which is made up of the fingers of the pressure plate. You look through that ring and you'll see this ring on the drive plate. You'll see this splined ring. So this ring should line up with that ring, which should line up with this ring. So these three should line up perfectly, like a gun barrel sight or something. So if this thing is dropped, it won't line up properly. You might have to move this around to get these three to line up perfectly. And when you're looking from behind where the gearbox would go, and these three are perfectly aligned, then go ahead and do up all your screws, and that'll bolt that firmly to that. Okay, and it's as simple as that. Then you go and get your gearbox, you lift him up and try and plug him in, and then just turn him around a little bit, because you'll notice there is splines there. Splines on the gearbox will have to match up with these splines here. And once all that's in, Bob's your Arnie. Of course, before you do that, you got to put your bell housing back on. So step 1 is get all this bolted to the flywheel in symmetry, nice and even. Then go ahead and put your bell housing on, and then bolt in your gearbox. That's how that works. Okay, people. What else can we talk about the video? You might have noticed in the last part of the footage, I was cleaning the pressure plate. Now, when you first buy it in a kit, it's got this residue on it to protect it from rust, and a couple of stickers, like factory stickers, price tags, whatever. They have to come off. It has to be a nice, smooth, clean surface. So to clean that, we used a clean rag and some petrol. And then I blew it off with the air gun, so it was nice and clean, basically. Whether that's the technical way of doing it or not, whether you're probably supposed to use brake and clutch cleaner, which is a special solvent in a can built for the job, because you basically don't want any oil whatsoever on your clutch plate or your pressure plate or on the flywheel around the spigot bush. It's supposed to be a nice and clean area. And you would have noticed also, after we pulled the gearbox off, there was a shitload of grass and crap up in there, like straw, bloody grass, dead shit, whatever, dirt. That's because we weren't actually running a tin cover plate on the bottom of the gearbox. Now I think that's a pretty essential thing to have one of those on there, especially if you're going to be going off-road in the paddock or doing circle work or something like that. Because shit's going to get up there, and then it gets in behind the starter motor and it jams up in your bearings, and yeah, so make sure you run a cover plate on the bottom there. What else? We probably ended up removing a little bit too much interior to get that lever out. I didn't realise that there was a roll pin that connected like a knuckle of the bottom of the stick to the control rod going into the gearbox. Probably wasn't necessary to pull out the seats and the centre console after all. It would have just pulled out of the way anyway, but there you go. That's a new experience for me, and you guys with your different cars will come up with different problems altogether. Basically all cars work the same, new, old, whatever, T-model Ford to a bloody modern day Audi. They might have more electronic gizmos on them, but essentially the same principles apply to pulling these things apart. I'd like to say that by no means am I a professional mechanic. I'm just a backyard Aussie that likes fixing his cars to save money, because mechanics do like to charge a lot of money. So the more you do yourself, the more you'll save in your hip pocket. Oh yeah, and also you would have noticed in the video that we did remove the gearbox off the bell housing first and then pulled off the clutch assembly, because gearboxes and bell housings together, especially on older cars because they're made of cast, are very heavy, and if you were doing that on your own, yeah, it's gonna hurt if you drop that on you. So by taking that out, you're eliminating, you know, a quarter of the weight or something, so it assists with it. So you would have seen I had Richo and Matt helping me, and it wasn't that heavy with a couple of people, like, and I've heard other people do it on their own anyway, but they are bloody heavy. So just be careful. You don't want any crushing hazards or anything like that. So yeah, just be careful and chock up your back wheels, put your handbrakes on, all that sort of business. Hey guys, so that wraps up our how to remove a gearbox and uninstall a clutch tutorial. I hope you guys learned something out of it, and I hope it's some use. And keep drinking the good stuff from Australia. Bit of 4X bitter. You know why they call it 4X now, don't ya? Because Queenslanders can't spell beer. Cheers, guys. 1, 2, 3.